Falcon Heights. At exactly 9:05 p.m., Castille's vehicle came to a complete stop next to the curb, 8 seconds after Officer Yanez activated his squad lights. Approximately 1 minute later, Officer Yanez shot Philando Castile 7 times, killing him. Officer Yanez's squad car video captured the entire incident with audio and subsequent conversations between Officer Yanez and other officers immediately after the shooting. The dash cam video reveals the sequence of events that transpired during this critical minute. Officer Yanez approached Castille's vehicle on the driver's side. Yanez later stated he was aware that Castile was buckled in his seatbelt and saw there was a young child in the back seat and a female passenger in the front seat. Officer Yanez described Castile as initially having his left arm over the steering wheel with both hands in view. Officer Yanez positioned himself facing the driver's side of the window, leaned his head forward, exchanged greetings with Castile, and informed him of his brake light problem. Officer Yanez also smelled burnt marijuana, but said he did not mention anything to Castile so as not to scare Castile or have him react in a defensive manner. As this occurred, Officer Kauser walked toward the vehicle and positioned himself on the sidewalk on the passenger side of Castile's car. Officer Yanez asked Castile to produce his driver's license and proof of insurance. Castile first provided him with his insurance card. Castile then calmly and in a non-threatening manner informed Officer Yanez, "Sir, I have to tell you that I do have a firearm on me." Before Castile completed the sentence, Officer Yanez interrupted and calmly replied, "Okay," and placed his right hand on the holster of his own holstered gun. Officer Yanez then said, "Okay, don't reach for it then." Castile tried to respond, but was interrupted by Officer Yanez, who said, "Don't pull it out." Castile responded, "I'm not pulling it out." And Reynolds also responded by saying, "He's not pulling it out." Then Officer Yanez screamed, "Don't pull it out," and quickly pulled his own gun with his right hand while he reached inside the driver's side window with his left hand. Officer Yanez pulled his left arm out of the car and then fired 7 shots in rapid succession into the vehicle. The 7th and final shot was fired at 9:06 and 2 seconds p.m. After the final shot, Reynolds frantically yelled, "You just killed my boyfriend." Philando Castile moaned and uttered his final words, "I wasn't reaching for it," to which Reynolds loudly said he wasn't reaching for it. Before Reynolds completed her sentence, Officer Yanez again screamed, "Don't pull it out." Reynolds responded by saying he wasn't. During this entire incident, Officer Kauser did not touch or remove his gun from its holster. By his actions and his own words, Officer Kauser did not see Castile make any sudden movements, and he was surprised by the gunshots. In addition, Officer Yanez never informed Officer Kauser about the presence of a gun. Within minutes after the shooting, Officer Yanez spoke with St. Anthony Police Officer Tressa Sunday at the scene of the shooting. During that conversation, Officer Yanez stated he did not know where the gun was and that Castile never told him where it was. Based upon the evidence, we believe that Castile never removed nor tried to remove his handgun from his front right pocket, which was a foot deep. When officers and paramedics rolled Castile to his right side to put a backboard under him, they saw and removed a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun from inside the front right pocket of his shorts. The gun contained a loaded magazine but did not have a round in the chamber. Philando Castile was transported to Hennepin County Medical Center, HCMC. At HCMC, medical personnel recovered a holster and wallet from one of Castile's pockets, although it was unclear which pocket these items were in at the time of the shooting. In Castile's wallet were his Minnesota driver's license and his permit to carry a pistol. The following day, in his interview, Officer Yanez told BCA investigators that after receiving his proof of insurance, Castile told him he had a firearm at the same time as he reached down between his right leg, his right thigh area, and center console. Officer Yanez said that as Castile was reaching down to his right, Castile turned his shoulder, kept his left hand on the steering wheel, and then canted his upper body, blocking Officer Yanez's view of his right hand. At that point, Officer Yanez articulated that he was scared for his life and that of his partner. Officer Yanez's verbatim statement, included in the criminal complaint, is inconsistent with the statement he made immediately following the incident, in which he stated he never saw or knew where the gun was. To those who may say that this incident was Philando Castile's fault, I would submit that no reasonable officer, knowing, seeing, and hearing what Officer Yanez did at the time, would have used deadly force under these circumstances. As the United States Supreme Court has instructed, I have given Officer Yanez every benefit of the doubt on his use of deadly force, but I cannot allow the death of a motorist who was lawfully carrying a firearm under these facts and circumstances to go unaccounted for. Philando Castile was not resisting or fleeing. There was absolutely no criminal intent exhibited by him throughout this encounter. He was respectful and compliant based upon the instructions and orders he was given. He volunteered in good faith that he had a firearm beyond what the law requires. He emphatically stated that he wasn't pulling it out. His movement was restricted by his own seatbelt. He was accompanied in his vehicle by a woman and a young child. Philando Castile did not exhibit any intent, nor did he have any reason to shoot Officer Yanez. In fact, his dying words were in protest that he wasn't reaching for his gun. There simply was no objective threat posed to Officer Yanez, Officer Kauser, or to anyone in that car. The mere mention or presence of a firearm alone cannot justify the use of deadly force. According to a national expert on police procedures and use of force that we retained, the totality of the circumstances indicate that Officer Yanez's use of deadly force against Philando Castile during the July 6th stop was not necessary, was objectively unreasonable, and was inconsistent with generally accepted police practices. In addition, under the same circumstances, Officer Yanez's discharge of his firearm 7 times into a vehicle in close proximity to and toward Diamond Reynolds and her 4-year-old daughter, endangered their safety. Given everything I have just covered and what is contained in the criminal complaint, it is important to remember that we still must prove these allegations in court. And Officer Yanez is presumed innocent until he is found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I ask the public for its continued trust and patience as the court process moves forward and we strive to achieve justice for Philando Castile, his family and friends, and our broader community. Thank you very much.